Hey guys, this is Melissa with MomSimplife.com, and today I'm going to be doing an update video on how our potato towers are doing. We have our two plastic barrels right here, and then we have our cloth towers in the back. And as you can see, this one is due for filling. We haven't filled it all the way to the top. We probably should have filled it, when it was a little bit smaller. But we went on a vacation and we ended up coming back and they just ended up skyrocketing so high up, and that's what we're going to be doing today, is adding the sawdust and just filling it all the way to the top for this one. I'm probably not going to be putting that material around the barrel because I've got questions of why we did that last year, and the reason why we put that material around, it was basically a waterproof blinds, like bamboo fake blinds for the outdoors, so we covered it. We did it mostly because of the look. I like the look of it better, but this year we're not worrying about how it looks out here. And the second reason why we did the bamboo covering was because I was a little bit worried about light getting through the barrel and I didn't want potato blight to happen. But we're gonna sit there and not do that and see if we have just as success as last year this year without the covering. So we're gonna fill this one up next, and then down here I have Yukon Golds, and they are almost ready for harvest. As you can see, the plant is kind of dying back. Once that completely dies, then I will be harvesting. I've already harvested one potato from just digging around in there and seeing what I could find in one little spot, and I did find a huge Yukon potato. So it seems like those weed block bags that we sewed up worked great for holding potatoes for basically a container if you don't have a bed for your potatoes. And over here we have this barrel right here. This was the one that I basically cut up last year's potato from last year's harvest, and I put it into this barrel, but they died. They ended up growing up, and then when I added more sawdust and sand to it, like I did with all the other towers, the plant completely died. So this is actually a new plant. This is Satina. This is not Lasada or red Lasada. So this is Satina. So these two are going to be different potatoes. I wanted to compare last year's potato, cut it up, and see if we could get the same amount of yield as a certified seed potato. And as you can see, it died. We had to start over with this barrel, but that's fine. At least we know for next year, just stick with the certified seed potatoes. So over here we have California White. We just continued filling it all the way up to the top. We didn't grow this one last year. This is us basically experimenting which late season, mid to late season potatoes will actually grow in a tower versus, ones that might not grow in a tower. So this is basically us experimenting with all the late to mid seed potatoes we could get, and also the red potatoes that we could get at our local co-op. So we have California White over here, we have Chieftain over here, and then this one is Satina. So they've already produced flowers. The flowers died back. I know some people say that as soon as it produced flowers, you cut the plant, dig it up, but I heard that's actually not true, and that's what we did last year. We did not dig it up. We waited until the plant actually died on its own, and then we ended up cutting off the foliage, and then just basically tip the barrel over, a couple days after cutting off the foliage, just to allow the skin on the potato to harden. And then, so that's basically it for those so far. And then right here, we're just gonna be adding the sawdust and sand. This is 75% sawdust, 25% sand here. And it is pretty mixed well. I use the Mittleider method. And basically the weekly feed, I also use 2100, which is nitrogen, about once a month. I also use pre-plant fertilizer about once a month also, just for extra calcium. I basically fertilize these like I would my tomatoes. So if you add extra stuff to your tomatoes, you might want to add extra fertilizer to your potatoes at the same time, because they are very similar on what they need. So once we start watering this, I'm actually going to add fertilizer first to the tops of these, and then I'll be watering this really in. I'll probably actually add also a little bit of pre-plant fertilizer to it. But what I do when I fertilize this, I basically take the height of the barrel and then times that by about 1.5, because the width of the barrel is about 1.5 feet. So then basically you fertilize 1 ounce of pre-plant or 1 ounce of weekly feed per linear foot. So this is going to be 4 feet tall, maybe 3.5 feet tall, but times that by 1.5 instead of doing the 1 linear foot. So add that extra half because of the extra width that you have here. But other than that, we're basically it for here, and now I'm going to just fertilize this and add the water. Okay, so next we just need to water this in really well. So that's basically it. That is all topped off, and that's all we're gonna do for until the end of the year, besides doing our weekly feed and probably just doing one more application of the nitrogen and pre-plant fertilizer. I only do that once a month. I don't do the nitrogen and the pre-plant fertilizer every single time I fertilize every week. I only do it once a month. But then every week I come along and do the weekly feed as normal. So, and then as soon as all this dies back and completely dies, then I'll be cutting it off and then letting it sit for 3 days, and then we'll be harvesting this. So hopefully this year we'll be getting as much or even more than we did last year. I didn't feel it as consistent as I did last year, so I'm a little bit iffy on how much yield we'll get. We ended up going on vacation quite a bit this summer, so each time I kept seeing my potatoes, I was just like, wow, on how much they grew, and they're kind of out of control at one point. Other than that, I think it's doing pretty good, and we'll see. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. If you guys have any questions or any comments, just leave it in the comment section below, and thank you for subscribing. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.